Live here. So, I mean, okay, yeah. So we're gonna do we'll cover, yeah, boxers legit badasses. So we're down to number six. Hope you guys have been staying with me. And yes, we're gonna learn a bit about Mike. I am Mike Tyson. So um, yeah, man. Thanks, Aztec, in the chat. This is gonna be good. Hey, listen, I ain't gonna lie to you, Aztec. Well, it's get as much information as possible on these badasses, and you know what I'm saying. That's what we're gonna do: investigate, reporting. Without further ado, let's introduce me for Mike Buffer, and then we're gonna start.
Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and let's get ready for EJ Boxing Live.
And we're back, man. So let's get in, man. Let's talk about Mike, and we're gonna start off straight away. Some Mike's early life, and so we're gonna talk about that straight away. Let's get into it. Come
All right,
on.
running out.
What is this?
Don is a master.
Oh, let me go back a bit.
Was in the ring.
Yeah, go back. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so we're getting into it. Let's go. Skip too far.
Punches are not made; they are born. He was born a puncher. It's just my nature. I mean, to reach for you and take your heart or your blood, your spleen or your liver. The only place he ever used to find any peace in the world was in the ring. I don't want to have a perfect fight. I want to be the best fighter.
I felt like Mike was kidnapped into the Don King cult and brainwashed.
Don is a master of finding a person's weakness. The fight is on. He used Tyson's sex life and the women around him to control him. My nature, regardless of my mentality, that's the way I am. You don't the truth is just killing me. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, a lot of energy. See? Yeah, but like everyone's got a lot of energy. But man, you gonna control that. Them women are bad, man. Eh? Women are bad. So we're gonna let's get some more information on Mike's early life, man. So we get some background story. Mike is it's very complicated. His life is very complicated. Let's hear from Steve Locke. 'Cause I've got Steve Locke. Let's hear from Steve Locke. Okay, let's hear.
You was around that time. Teddy, obviously, the influence of Mike was disrespecting his niece or stuff like that, and that situation with the gun. Would you say that the people, very strong disappearance, disappearance that people around Mike from a very young age, and because Mike Tyson, I know Mike Tyson, he's complicit in a lot of these things that happen. I know he's being manipulated, but would you say it's just the people around him from a very young age? Because I remember Teddy was saying he should have went to school and Costa was letting them get away with it. Like, can you go into that little thing from early in his teams?
Sure. Another great point you brought up. I would have forgotten all about it. The incident with Mike and Denise and Teddy. Let's take Teddy's side for a second about that. The incident happened exactly like it did, and it was horrible. And Teddy goes to Costa and said, "You got to get rid of Mike because he's no good and he's never going to develop and it's all this horrible stuff." And Cuss said to Teddy, "I understand how horrible this was. It was horrible. I will speak to Mike. I'm sure that he'll understand that it was horrible, that he'll apologize to you. He won't do it again. But I know, kids, you have to give him a chance." And Teddy said, "Forget it. He's got to go. He'll never be good. There's no way either he goes or I go." And Cuss said, "Teddy, I've been around a while. I think he's going to get better. I know he's going to get better. I can't say any more." Teddy said goodbye. Now, if Teddy was correct that Mike's discipline was a factor, then in 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, Mike would have shown it over that 6-year time period. He would have done horrible things, acted out horrible ways, all the things that Teddy predicted. But that's not what happened. Cuss knew that a kid like Mike, a street thug, a bum off the street, had to have some time to develop. And Cuss was right. 84, Mike was fine. 85, he turns pro, no problems. 86, becomes the youngest heavyweight champion in the world. And perhaps, maybe, I'm not a great historian, under more pressure than any other athlete in history, being the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. And remember now, in soccer, you can lose 3 games and still win the league. In baseball, you can strike out 4 times and still hit the game-winning home run. In every sport, except boxing, 1 punch, the ball game is over. And the whole team rolled up and won. And Mike was the youngest heavyweight champion of all time, doing tremendous in '87, commercials on TV, loved and adored, police department ads, FBI. Teddy was correct. None of that stuff would happen. But Teddy has never gone back and acknowledged that, because it's a little embarrassing to think that he was wrong. The Cuss had been around for 70 years. He knew that kid would have developed well, and Cuss was right.
Okay, I want to ask you, we talked to the fight doctor, Freddie Pacheco, and he had some, pretty harsh words from Mike when we asked him how Mike would do in the era of Ali and Foreman and Frazier and those guys. Pacheco said that it's disrespectful to even mention Mike with those guys. And he said that Mike he was knocking out all bums. Now, I want to get your opinion on this because, Mike beat. He unified the heavyweight title, okay? And he's fighting top contenders all the time. I don't understand how people say he fought bums because he demolished them. Can you respond to that?
Yes, it's an interesting topic. It's interesting that all you can do as a heavyweight champ is fight everyone who's there. And the question becomes, how do you do with them? So Mike fought against whoever was around at that time. And the fights that went the distance were, of course, the Tillis fight, which was his first 10-rounder. Then the Bone Crusher Smith fight, which was 12 rounds. Then the Tucker fight, which went 12 rounds. I really don't go into after 88 because that was the Don King era. So during that time period, Mike had some 12-rounders, which were, he didn't look back, but he won almost every minute of every round. Now let's look back at Ali in 64, 65, 66, during his prime. I don't look at after the war because that's not the real Ali. He went 15 rounds with Ernie Terrell, who never threw a punch in the fight. He got dropped by Sonny Banks, a 175-pound fighter, the year before he won the title. He got rocked by Carl Mildenberger, a southpaw who chased him out of the ring. He got rocked by Zora Foley. He got rocked by Billy Daniels. He ran from a 54-year-old Archie Moore in their fight. He ran from a Floyd Patterson, 65, who couldn't even walk, he had a bad back. Now, Ali won all those fights, but in some of those fights, he looked really bad, average. As a matter of fact, if you turn off, and this is a trick for deciding who's exciting and who can really fight, the trick is you put on a fight, let's say Muhammad Ali, you turn off the sound, and you put on the
ain't no one believing that shit.
Chasing him out, I mean, he
ain't no one's hearing that shit.
All time, I'd have to go with Ali because I think he's very few guys more famous.
Ain't no beating Ali.
It's a fun fight. You watching, and you watch. It's holy mackerel. It's like.
Yo, this guy.
Rob, let's talk about Mike specifically. Did you know
he screamed with his finger, puts it in his mouth, tastes it, and walks away. Now I don't know about you, but I'd take the whole bowl with me if I was him.
I don't know what's going on.
I think it was against Tony T and Tops. Were you there with that?
Yes.
Yeah, the photographs in them times it was like I still remember ITV and they were showing Mike, and it was just crazy. And in Japan they love Mike over there. And do you remember how the whole thing was when you went to Japan with Mike and that the first time?
Yeah, it was sensational. It was sensational. From the moment we got off the plane, they were incredible people. They treated Mike royally. He was an absolute superstar, and there's so many funny things happened over there. The very first day, there was a huge press conference. Mike's up at the desk, the dais, answering questions. And of course, all the questions are in Japanese, and there's an interpreter to tell Mike what the English is. And the first guy gets up and says a question. First press man gets up and asks a question in Japanese. The interpreter tells Mike, how's the trip? And Mike answers. The next guy gets up, question in Japanese. The interpreter asks Mike the question. Mike answers. Third guy gets up in Japanese, and as he's talking, Mike turns to me and says, "Nobody speaks English." I said, "Mike, it's Japan, man." He said, "Oh, yeah, that's right, okay." So it was that, everything there was sensational. It was getting used to the time factor because the fight with Tubbs took place at 10 o'clock in the morning there, to be 10 o'clock in the evening here. The only problem for Mike was Robin and he had just gotten married a few weeks before, and there was that stuff happening behind the scenes. And it was the first time, I think, that Mike, actually, there were a couple of times when Mike put me under such pressure that I wish I was Customato, and that was one of them. About a week before the fight, Robin had been out there for a few days, went back, and one night we had the whole floor of this new Otani hotel. Our doors were open since there was guards out in the main area where no one can get in. And I'm watching TV one night, sitting on the edge of my bed, and Mike comes in and sits down next to me. And I said, "Dan, this is weird." I said, "Yo, man, what's up?" And he hangs his head. He says, "Steve, it's Robin. She's driving me crazy. I should never have gotten married." I'm going, oh, in my mind, oh, no. I got the heavyweight champion of the world a few days before his defense with Tony Tubbs. On the eve, 3 months, 4 months later, fighting the biggest fight in the history of boxing against Spinks. And here he is, distraught, disheveled, emotional. I said, oh, man, what the hell do I do? Whenever I was in a position like that, which happened once before, I never say to myself, "Steve, what do you do?" I say, "What would Jim Jacobs do?" "Oh, no, better yet, Phil Kate." "No, I got it." What would Customato do right now? And when I thought like that, it clears my brain a little bit, gives me a little more non-emotional answer, more rational. So I look and I say, "What's happening?" He says, "Steve, she's driving me crazy. I don't know what to do." I said, "Mike, look, first of all, number one, the fight in Friday night, you're going to look sensational against this guy. You're going to score a sensational knockout. I guarantee you. You're going to look great. And when we get back to New York, everything with Robin's going to work out 100%. He says, "You mean it?" I said, "Mike, have I ever been wrong before?" He says, "No. Mike, you're going to knock out this guy, and we get back to New York, everything's going to be fantastic." He says, "Okay." And he leaves. And, of course, he knocked out Tony Tubbs. Yeah. But Robin, oh, boy, was I wrong. Yeah. But I had to get him through that time period. The only other time that was like that was even more pressure-packed. In Las Vegas, our very first trip out there was against a guy named Alfonso Ratliff. Big guy, not very good fighter, but a perfect opponent for the undercard of Spinks 10 Steps. It was Mike's fight before he fought Burbick. First day in the gym, very famous Johnny Toco's gym in Las Vegas. We're training, maybe 4 rounds of sparring. Kevin says that's enough. Mike walks in the dressing room. I start to pack up my camera equipment. Kevin comes out. He says, "We got a problem." "What's that?" "Mike doesn't like it here. He wants to go home." I said, "You're kidding." He said, "No, he wants to go home." I said, "Yeah, but we got the fight in 8 days. It's a huge fight." He says, "Steve, he wants to go home." I said, "Okay, let's see what I do." Once again, I start walking the 30 feet to the locker room. What do I do? No, Jim, no, Bill, no, Cuss. What would Cuss do right there? Because I have to do that, otherwise I'd be shaking to my boots, you know. I walk in there, I said, "Yo, man, what's up?" He says, "I don't like it here, I want to go home." I said, "Why?" He said, "I don't like it here, I want to go home." I said, "Okay, look, Mike, you know what? I don't like it here either. I wish I was back in New York. But I guarantee you this, number one, you're going to knock this guy, you're going to be the superstar of the show. You're going to be a superstar. People go bananas over you in the fight. That's number one. Number two, if you don't want to come back here anymore, we don't come back here anymore." He said, "You mean it?" "I'm telling you. If you don't want to come back here anymore, we don't come back." He said, "Okay." That was it.
Wow.
But I tell you, when you have the most valuable sports personality of all time, and you're under that pressure. Now, I know that, Beckham was big, but not as big as Mike worldwide.
No.
And Michael Jordan is big, but not when Mike was Mike. A funny thing happened. We were at the National Sporting Club in England in 1987. Mike was given an award there as Fighter of the Year. And we got there with a one.
come on, let's get some more gritty.
Who just love Mike. So I'm not like obviously.
Let's get some more gritty.
Men, not the trainers, because without the fighters, there'll be no promoters or matchmakers or managers or stick bucket men. So Jim and Bill and I always wanted to do a boxing Hall of Fame. Once the company was sold to ESPN.
Okay, he's talking about that's off Mike Tyson stuff. So let's go find some more Mike Tyson information. All right, yeah, let's get this.
To fight again. Larry Merchant covered Tyson almost from his beginnings.
All fighters previously of his type in the heavyweight division, meaning Dempsey, Marciano, and Frazier, had short, blazing careers. That kind of style does not allow a fighter to have a very long career, as Joe Louis did, as Muhammad Ali did, as Larry Holmes did. So even giving him the best of intentions, the greatest of will to change over, there's a serious question of whether it can be done.
Tyson grew up in Brooklyn. His father abandoned him. His mother couldn't control him.
Everything was so hostile. There was never a slow moment there. It was always hostile. Cops always stopping. Ambulance always coming to pick up somebody. Guns always going off. People are getting stabbed. Windows are being broken. It was very, very hostile. We were excited. We thought it was something. You used to watch these guys shooting out one another. It was somewhat watching John Wayne shoot it out of, watching some old Humphrey Bogart, Edward G. Robinson movies, and watching these guys shoot out. And you're looking, you say, wow, this is happening in real life.
By the time he was 8, he was a street punk trying to survive.
So it was so exciting. The media world is so vastly different. You could never understand the action and the excitement of it all. And the cunningness, to be able to outsmart somebody was a big thrill. Not just to go out and beat a guy and slam him on the ground and take his wallet. To outsmart them, out-time them, out-think them, even though they know that you're a crook. When you're on the bus or when you're walking in the check cashing place or the grocery store, they know to watch you and you still outsmart them. Like most people would think, well, she knows me, she's on to me, I'm going to walk away. But just to still watch them, they think they know, and then they make one mistake and you're outsmart and they have their wallet. See, I'm not afraid of group, but when I was young, I used to want to outthink an idea that you'll go like your friend and say, you had to see the way I did this. Your friend, you had to see this. You had to get the Academy Awards for this, you say. And it was just, I don't care. I had a great time. It was a great learning experience in life.
He was a teenage mugger and predator. He was 38 arrested as a juvenile.
By the time he was 13, Tyson was sentenced to a juvenile center in upstate New York for his lunch.
I tell you what, man, him and Ty Liston, they have something similar, Ruben Hurricane Parr, all similar, man. The police are down on them, boy. So let's continue this.
Changed when he was brought to the attention of a boxing man by the name of Customato. Customato was a legendary boxing figure who had led champions like Jose Torres and Floyd Patterson to world titles.
Customato rescued him from a life of crime in prison, gave him an opportunity, developed his boxing skills.
Tyson was 12. He was very shy. He looked very strong. He looked too small and a little bit too fat to make any projection about him.
Customato brought 2 trainers into Tyson's life, Teddy Atlas and Kevin Rooney.
I met Tyson in Catskill, New York, with Customato. I was up there training fighters. I was training all the fighters for Customato. I was training at the time when Bobby Stewart, who was a correctional officer in a youth prison near Albany, called up Cus and asked him if I would take a look at this young kid named Mike Tyson. There was a gentleman named Bobby Stewart who was an ex-fighter and knew Cus. Cus had helped him a great deal, and I wanted to be a boxer. I watched him box with the kids. When he found out that Stewart was a former fighter, which he was, pro and amateur, Stewart showed him a couple of things, and Tyson became very energized and very excited about the prospect of maybe learning how to box. And when he found out he was traveling with Cus, Tyson was excited that he might have an opportunity to come in and meet Cus.
In his 70s, when he met Tyson, D'Amato believed he found the kid who once again could put Cuss on a championship track.
We trained him, myself and Teddy, at the beginning. We trained him steadily to finally start get boxing, and then he developed the ability to slip punches and so forth. When he got to the point of slipping punches, we had a difficult time getting people to box with him because he proved to be a very hard puncher with both hands.
And Tyson was like a sponge. He just absorbed everything that Cuss had to teach him. You know, the head movement, throwing the punches with bad intention, the proper snap. And I recall Mike, practicing for long, sustained periods of time, 10, 15 minutes in the mirror, just throwing like the right uppercut or left hook, just over and over and over.
That's what it takes to be buff. That's what it takes to be good.
Cuss had an extensive film at the house of the old fighters, Dempsey, Armstrong, Robinson, and I used to watch them all the time.
Henry Armstrong's style here is typical of him. Head down, on the chest of his opponent.
That's it. There you go. There you go. Again. Who's the last guy to stop? Time. Very good. That's right. I want to do something that no fighter ever done violently, and I want to do that. I don't want to actually kill somebody. I mean, the things that Jack Dempsey broke people's eye sockets. And that, to me, man, that's a high. You have to see that guy did this.
The trainers worked on Tyson's boxing skills. Cuss used Jose Torres as a role model.
Coach D'Amato said his kid may become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world.
He wanted to impress us. He knew exactly why he was there. He was there to audition, to be able to change his life maybe, to move somewhere else after he got out of prison.
Cuss was please, I guess. And he said, you have too much talent. You know what I mean? And he said, you're a good kid, but if you go back to Brooklyn, you're only going to get yourself in trouble. And from that point on, he adopted me.
Right. That's already.
Come on, man. Look at that right there. Oh, that's a great ball. Look at that ball. Look at this bird, man. Unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Look at him. Unbelievable.
Tyson raised pigeons at Cuss's house, a pursuit he discovered as a child growing up in Brooklyn. But Tyson was not content to only play with his pigeons.
Tyson was wild. He used to disappear. Cuss threw Tyson out of the house in front of me. Get out of here. There was at one point. And another point, he asked Tyson out to fight with him. There was a time, I remember one time when there was an argument between Tyson and Cuss. And Cuss went outside, come here. You want to be a tough guy, come here. And I we're gonna fight. And Cuss was very serious. And Tyson, of course, he laughed and walked away.
Well, he had problems. He got thrown out of the school. A lot of this stuff, quite honestly, was kept quiet because the image was important. The kid and the old man. That was a great image. That could really sell.
The kid and the old man. Well, not exactly. At least when the kid wanted to play.
He used to leave for the weekends to see his mother in Brooklyn. He was supposed to leave on Saturday and come back on Sunday. And sometimes he stayed lost for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And Cuss used to come to the city, and he used to call me other times. And I used to go over Bed-Stuy looking for Brownsville, looking for Tyson all over the place. And sometimes we found him. Most time we did not. And I was wild. I never had the opportunity because I focused most of my life. I'm sure most of the stories you hear are not as accurate. But of course. I was interested in women.
Whatever troubles Tyson was encountering outside the ring, it was not affecting the natural killer instinct inside. With Cuss and Teddy Atlas's guidance, Tyson had beaten every amateur opponent, and in 1982, he defended his Junior Olympics title. His reputation had preceded him. The year before, some of the less developed fighters intentionally lost their matches, terrified of facing Tyson and risking serious physical injury.
Sure. cold, man.
While other fighters may have seen him as a vicious animal to be feared and avoided, Tyson showed another side of himself before stepping into the ring for the championship match.
Crying,
He
man.
broke down before the bout.
Fight smart and like a tiger in calm. Tyson has a great overhand right, round carry, left hand roll. We'll see whether the two match up.
Ooh. He lifted the guy off the ground, man, with a punch.
He's got him in the corner. He's working on him. Hector Mercedes going down.
That guy gave up his height.
Very, very strong boxing. Very, very strong. Brown has taken some vicious punishment and he's held on. He's really there's another right by Tyson.
Tyson's quick.
Coming in. Look at old Tyson jump on the roof.
Having disposed of the amateurs, Tyson turned professional.
The beginning of Mike Tyson's career was guided perfectly. From the trainers, the training, the promoting, the fights acquired for Mike Tyson. Here was a man that sometimes fought twice a month. Unbelievable. It's so hard for a manager to get 2 fights a month for a fighter.
Yeah.
Never mind the amount of fights that they got for Team Tyson. Team Tyson was the perfect team for boxing.
And then, Mike Tyson was like the hottest up-and-coming fighter that we had seen since the young Cassius Clay or Rocky Marciano. I mean, they were putting him in, or Joe Louis, they were putting him in that category. Because what? Because he was knocking guys out. He was knocking guys. Every time he threw the punch, he threw with bad intentions, and he wasn't getting hit.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And that's what's up. When you're fighting, it's not about getting hit. That's what it's hitting, not getting hit, man. The main thing.
Several months after turning pro, Tyson was hit with the hardest blow of his career when his adoptive father and mentor, Cus D'Amato, died of pneumonia. No one was certain Tyson could continue. Jim Jacobs assumed the place in Tyson's heart that had been held by Cus D'Amato. The friend, the mentor, the replacement.
Become a top 10 fighter. And then he became the #1 contender. And then he became heavyweight champion of the world. So to come out of my bedroom in the morning, and there on the couch is the heavyweight champion of the world. And my friend, it's like having Willie Mays or Mickey Mantle sleeping on your couch. The most incredible feeling in the world. But all during the time period, he was a terrific kid.
That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head and perfect.
Tyson, at the age of 20, became Cus's dream, the youngest heavyweight champion of the world.
That's right.
Having conquered the division, Tyson turned his attentions to a beautiful young actress, the star of a popular television sitcom, Robin Givens.
At the beginning, I was for the idea of Tyson marrying Robin Givens because Tyson was getting too wild.
We ain't trying to hear about that, man. We're going to leave that alone.
To do what they please, and in that way to gain their loyalty.
Kevin Rooney was a wonderful trainer for him. Kevin Rooney loved him. But Don King made him fire Kevin Rooney. And I think the day Tyson fired Kevin Rooney, there was a cap put on Mike Tyson's development as a fighter. He did not develop any more beyond that day. He was never in tip-top shape for any fight after he fired Rooney. He stopped moving his head. He began to accept clinches. He started to jab less. You could see that under Don King, not only did his character and morals decline and erode, his boxing technique began to decline and erode because he no longer had Kevin Rooney or Teddy Atlas.
He didn't want to submit himself as an athlete to anyone who could have any authority, to anyone who could say no. And he surrounded himself, bought friends with the money he made and surrounded himself with,
I don't know about that, man.
with semi-professionals and allowed all of the distractions that come with fame and fortune to impose themselves on him.
If the odds makers were aware of Tyson's flagging commitment to his boxing, it was not reflected in their handicapping of Tyson's bout in Tokyo against James Buster Douglas.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that with Steve Block. Let's get into that with Steve Block.
Bill, or Kevin to see any of those paperwork because they would go to Mike and say, "Where's the rest of the money?"
Let's talk about it.
Because it has to do with the people around you. So when Mike was drilled by Cuss to be that type of character, he emulated Cuss and then Jim and Bill. But once he got to Don King carefully, calculatingly put guys around Mike. Mike knew, even in 84, 85, 80s, he knew how to act like a street punk. He didn't forget that. But it was too much fun being a hero. What Don did brilliantly was put him back to the street mentality. And Don knew that he would never go back to Bill when he was thinking like that. And that's the way it worked out.
Wow. Okay, I can like Don King. What I can't understand is how he would get rid of Kevin Rooney. Okay, it seems almost like, you correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like he wanted to remove all of the positive influences around Mike. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, and a little bit more than that. You brought up an excellent point, which I forgot. A little bit more than that. Let's suppose we're back in 1988, and by the way, Mike never fired Kevin Rooney. What happened was Don King had been paying off a newspaper writer, a guy named Mike Marley, to write articles for him and his company, and he had Mike Marley write an article that said Mike Tyson fires Kevin Rooney for certain statements, whatever they were. Mike never fired Kevin Rooney, but Don knew that once that was in the paper, that people would go up to Mike's, the guys around Mike, Don King's cronies, would go up to Mike and say, "That was a good move, Mike. What do you need Kevin for?" The reason Don did not want Kevin around, Don really didn't care if Mike was not as good as he was. He was good enough. It was critical for Don to do one thing and one thing only: steal Mike's money. Now, if Kevin was around Mike, what would happen was Kevin would be the trainer. After the fight's over, the checks would be given out, and Don King would give Kevin his check for the trainer's fee. And Kevin would look at the check. Let's say there was the first fight. Let's say it was the Bruno fight, which was in Atlantic City. It was in Las Vegas in 1988. Was the first fight without us. Kevin would look at the check. It would be like, a $200,000 check. And Kevin would say, "What's this?" And Don King would say, "Well, Mike made $2 million and you get 10%. And Kevin would say, "But this fight should have been a $10 million fight for Mike. $5 million from HBO, $5 million from the site, foreign sales. It's got to be the last thing Don wanted was someone around Mike going up to Mike and saying, "Mike, you should have got 3 times this amount of money." That could never stay with Don. There was no way he'd permit Kevin around or me or anyone like that to say stuff like that to Mike, because it would cause a huge furor behind the scenes. Don didn't want that.
Okay, so I get it now. So you're saying Kevin Rooney, as a trainer, gets paid a percentage of Mike's purse, so he would know how much he would get paid. So Don had to remove him so that he could steal Mike's money without any outside influence.
Exactly. Say about 90% of the time, 95%, a trainer gets a percentage of the fighter's money. Usually it's 10%. So, but, if a fighter's supposed to make $3,000, but he only makes $2,700, the trainer, instead of getting $300, gets $270. It's really not a big deal. But with Mike Tyson, if he's supposed to get $8 million and only makes $2 million, the trainer, Kevin Rooney, knew that the purses that Mike was making with Bill King were enormous purses, especially the Spinks fight before it was the biggest purse in the history of boxing, $21 million. So Kevin, getting his 10%, said, "Mike, you should have made at least $8 million in this fight. Where's the other $6 million? So there's no way that Don would permit anyone around Mike, me or Bill or Kevin, to see any of those paperwork, because they would go to Mike and say, "Where's the rest of the money?" All of Mike's attorneys were Don's attorneys. All of Mike's accountants were Don's accountants. All of Mike's managers, Rory and Holloway and John, were Don's guys. So Don had a complete control, and That's what they call not a con job. It's called isolating the mark. In the movies, the mark is the guy or woman you want to take advantage of. If they're surrounded by good people or their own friends, it's very difficult to take advantage of them because they're being given advice by people who care about them. But if you isolate the mark, if you get the mark away from those people and put people around them that you control, now you've isolated the mark. It's much easier to take advantage of them, whether it's money or stocks or bonds or companies, anything. And what Don did brilliantly was isolate the mark, and that was Mike.
Wow. What you just said there, I can see.
Now, if Teddy was correct, that Mike's this.
Let's hear about the bloody Japan man.
As a matter of fact, if you turn off, and this is
No, we ain't trying to hear that again. We heard that already.
well, he looked poor against were the shorter guys coming in. The Sonny Banks, the Daniel, the fight. You watching? And you watch. Holy man. Pacquiao will fight Mayweather, winner take all.
Drugs. Let's talk
drugs. If I had even mentioned that to him, he'd say, well, Kevin Rooney, forget it. Kevin would say, Steve, are you out of mind? But once he left, I don't know. But something else is that, in my opinion, there's no drugs you can give a fighter that will make him fight any better. If a fighter gets hit on the chin, the ball game is over.
Exactly.
There's no drugs you can give a fighter that will make him fight any faster, or make him fight any bigger, or make him fight any stronger. It doesn't exist. In 12 rounds in 45 minutes, you don't need, if you're running a marathon in their fights, without drinking any stuff, that's the dais answering questions. And of course, all the questions are in Japanese, and there's an interpreter to tell Mike what the English is. And first guy gets up and says a question. Opponent for the undercard of the stink. It was a wonderful time. And we're at the dinner was in Brooklyn, a punk, to where he went in 86, 87 as the world's most popular athlete, commercial on TV, back down in 94, 5, 6, rape conviction, ear biting, all that stuff, and now back up again to this huge spotlight, the book, the tour, TV shows. I don't know anybody in the world, in the history of the planet, that had that type of spectrum. It's so immense. And he's handling it. And I'll tell you, the pressure on him now is enormous. Interviews and personality tours and TV and newspapers and phoners and the one-man show and the book tours. Especially in England, he was always loved and adored by the fans. And he knows that, and even here in the United States, if he was around people, I give an example. Even though he broke away from me and Bill, around 1990, maybe even after the Douglas fight, he knew my whole family, Mike, because, they visited us in Las Vegas, and they were at ringside, and he hung with them and everything. He knew my whole family. And in Los Angeles, around 1990, my uncle was living there, and he knew Mike pretty well. And my uncle went to a TV show, and there's a big parking lot, and it's getting dark out. And my uncle parks his car and walks to the stage, the entry to the stage. And as he's walking, stuck out, he sees these two big black guys coming at him. And he's wondering who they are. And as they get closer, he realizes it's Mike Tyson and another guy. And he looks at Mike and he says, Mike? And Mike goes, Uncle Marty? Hey, what are you doing here? And Marty says, I'm going to a show. And Mike says, no, come with us. That's the way he really is. When no one's around and he is a real person, whether it's in a crowd, he loves people. He was told there's a boxing guy here in Vegas, a man named Gene Kilroy, who was with Ali for many, many years. And he told Mike, look, the problem you have with a lot of people is when they stop asking you for your autograph, or they stop loving you. That's when you have a problem. That's when you should be unhappy. And Mike realized he was right. The actors or actresses who are upset that people want their autographs, they should know what it's like to live on the street. I don't know about, you like to smack some of them saying, I need my free time. It's very tough to get something going,
trying to get to the Douglas bit.
And they're almost hysterical. but that gives us a lot of view.
Let's get to the top.
The list will get slim because there's some fighters who are placed in other halls of fame. Be an honor. He said, absolutely yes. Then there's an actor.
Okay. Well, I might go
And Buddy's a buddy of mine who's
I might go past that.
years. How many of them you think went over to the hotel to say hello to Johnny?
All right, let me do this. All right, I'm gonna go to here somewhere. I was playing it earlier on. Okay. Yeah, this the Douglas fight, man. And then we're done, man.
It was getting used to the time factor because the fight would took place at 10 o'clock in the morning there. It could be 10 o'clock in the evening here. The only problem for Mike was Robin and he had just gotten married a few weeks before, and there was that stuff happening behind the scenes. And it was the first time, I think, that Mike, actually, there were a couple of times when Mike put me under such pressure that I wish I was Customato. And that was one of them. About a week before the biggest fight in the history of boxing against Spinks. And here he is, distraught, disheveled, emotional. I said, oh man, what the hell do I do? What would Customato do right now? Moscow. I guarantee it. You will look great. And when we get back to New York, everything with Robin's going to work out 100%. He says, you mean it? I said, Mike, have I ever been wrong before? He says, no. Mike, you're going to knock out this guy, and you get back to New York, everything's going to be fantastic. He says, okay. And he
nah, man, we missed it, man. Where's the Buster Douglas shit? He got top. Let's get we got top in. He got top in by Buster Douglas. That's it somewhere, man. When we got top, he got top in by Buster Douglas. That's going to end it, man.
wonderful. But once your reputation is shot and you do horrible things, everywhere you go, people know who you are. It's a lot different. You go in to buy a cup of tea in the morning, and the person, it was easy pickings. She said she was pregnant. They got married. Over. That was very different. So for me, having Mike live with me, even when he won the heavyweight championship,
come on, man.
She went back to Bill Gates the next week. Okay. 2 weeks later, Steve, get Bill to send me all my.
Yeah, we know about that.
Kate and Jim Jacobs did. If Don did that, yeah, by Robin Gibbons' attorney, it would not have been as important. That happens in football, baseball, and soccer. Maybe there's a timeout. The mind dwells. In boxing, it's in the corner when the guy sits down. Usually, for Mike in 85, 86, 87, interviewer, and you conduct radio interviews. If everything in your life is great, your wife is great, your kids are great, you just got a raise, you had your doctor examine you, everything is terrific with your health, you just got an Emmy award, an award from England, you go on that day on the camera, behind the desk, in the set to interview your first guest, you feel terrific. But if you're not doing well, if your company has told you you're going to be fired in 2 weeks, they cut your salary, your doctor told you have cancer, your wife is having a miscarriage, somebody stole your car, on the set that day, when you interview the other person, you're not going to feel so good. Now imagine if you're an athlete on a stage, even a soccer player, when they go on the field, if they're feeling great, that's fine. But if they're not, that's going to affect them too. All depends on your makeup. Now with Mike, there's some boxers it would not have affected. But Mike is very, very emotional. So, for the Douglas fight,
here we go.
He left Bill Caton. He knows he made a horrible mistake. Millions of dollars are being taken from him that he knows behind the scenes of his days. He loses his commercial endorsements. His demeanor starts to change. Don King fires Kevin Rooney. Mike knows that he left Bill. He left me. The training process, I don't know what had transpired over there, but obviously it wasn't strong enough. Now, Mike fights the fight. He goes back to his corner for the first couple of rounds. He's not doing well. He sits down and he starts to dwell. And dwell, I mean, it's almost like a tennis match. When the point is over and one player walks to the other side of the court to get ready for service, in that 6 or 8 or 10 seconds, your mind goes to a different place for a moment. Maybe your mom, your dad, your car, you go for a split second, it goes. Then you get up, ready to serve, you're back on track. That happens in football, and baseball, and soccer. Maybe there's a timeout, the mind dwells. In boxing, it's in the corner when the guy sits down. Usually, for Mike, in 85, 86, 87, 80, 88, he sits down the corner in a tough fight, maybe the Tucker fight. He looks up at Kevin Rooney, he's thinking in his mind, boy, this guy Tucker is pretty good. And then all of a sudden Mike says to himself, wait a second, I'm the heavyweight champion of the world. I got Kevin Rooney, I got Caton, I got Jacobs, I'm doing commercial on TV. I'm a hero, I'm a superstar, I'm gonna beat this guy. He gives himself every reason to win. Gets up, has just as much firepower in round 12 as he has in round 1. Now it's a Douglas fight. Comes back to his corner, let's say around 4 or 5, sits down. Oh shit, man, I got these jerk-offs around me. They don't even have an insult. They got this big water bag. Man, all my money's being taken by King. The pressure on my butt. I dumped Steve, I dumped Kevin. Man, I wish I had Kevin here. He gets up for that round. There's less energy, less emotional energy, less emotional strength that he takes with him. Round 7, round 8, he scores that. Now it gets really weird. In round 8, he scores that tremendous one-punch uppercut that knocks Douglas down. Yeah. Douglas is on the canvas. The referee's counting.
Too long. The count is too long.
Well, he took a long, but here's where it gets interesting. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Now, you're right. Douglas should have stayed down. The whole count, whatever it was. Mm. And the press the next day would have said to Mike, it was a tough fight, but you scored a knockout. Congratulations. Count is 5, 6, 7. Once again, Douglas should have stayed down. And the fight would have been over. Mike, tough fight. Congratulations. Maybe next time. 8, 9. Douglas, remember, I don't know if you remember, Douglas is pounding on the canvas. He was trying to decide whether to get up or not. He was struggling mentally. 9, 9 3/4. Douglas gets up at 9.999. Whether it was a real 9.9 or 15 sec, he got up. The next round, he beats up Mike, and round 10, he knocks Mike out. And what that was, in a strange way, it's almost mystical. When Douglas was on the canvas, it was almost like the powers above looked down on Mike and said, Mike, in the old days, 84, 85, 86, 87, everything that could go right for you went right, but no more. Now you're going to see what happens when you do the wrong stuff. You want to go with King and Robin. Now watch what happens. Douglas gets up and knocks him out. And that's so amazing because from 84 to 88, every possible thing that could go right for Mike, everything he said, everything he did, everything that Customato did, and Caton and Jacobs went right. Once he went to Robin and Don King, every single thing that could go wrong went wrong. Every fight, the knockout, the rape, the ear biting, his demeanor, the press, the commercial, every single thing, because it has to do with the people around you. So when Mike was drilled by Cuss to be that type of character, he emulated Cuss and then Jim and Bill. But once he got to Don King carefully, calculatingly put guys around Mike. Mike knew, even in 84, 85, 86, he knew how to act like a street punk. He didn't forget that. But it was too much fun being a hero. What Don did brilliantly was put him back in the street mentality. And Don knew that he would never go back to Bill when he was thinking like that. And that's the way it worked out.
Yo, man. So, yeah, man, look, man, that you could end it like that. But Mike, the story is still going on right now. There's a Mike Tyson podcast here on YouTube. And he has various guests, man. It's called the Hot Box. And Mike Tyson has various guests there, man. I heard a good one with him and LL Cool J, and he just smokes cannabis and he just chilled out, man. Lives in Vegas, I think, wherever he lives, and he's a cool guy, man. But he went for a lot of his life, man. Um, he's right, youngest 20 heavyweight championship of the world at 20, man. That's young, man. And some of the pressures he's been through, but like his background, you have to grow up quick or die. Best die, and where he grew up ain't easy, man. But definitely, man, this is why I put him on the list. And number coming in at number 6, man. Boxing's legit badass. Mike Tyson. I am Mike Tyson. At number 6, man. Shout out to Aztec 101. Yeah, man, I try to make it good. Hope you guys stick with me. I'm EJ Boxing Live. We're gonna end it there. And we're gonna keep doing this countdown until we get to number 1. I appreciate everyone. Take care of yourselves. Peace.